Good morning, welcome all of you. So, this morning we are going to add a new figure to our ongoing discussion, that will be a glorified topic on self or the Atman. So, beautifully, Sri Aurobindo has quoted in different formats, different forms, of course, in different way. So we must be able to know about the self, the Atma, the psychic being, the cosmic self, like this cosmic spirit. So this way it will be a beautiful explanation by Sri Aurobindo on self, Atman, cosmic spirit, and the psychic being, soul. These are the formats, these are the things to be discussed better by Sri Aurobindo in his original ways as Sri Aurobindo has described. We are going to discuss little bit, of course in brief. So this morning's topic of discussion will be on self or Atman. So this about these topics and about these words self, Atman, psychic, cosmic spirit, we are well aware of, because people who are almost pursuing this integral yogic process, definitely there will be need no hesitation at all, no point to look back, no point to ponder that self or Atman, psychic being, cosmic spirit, these are the terms that they are not at all known to the sadhaka. It will be an impossible concept. So almost people who are pursuing this sadhana path, and who are moving on this track, naturally they are well aware of these terms. Now we are going to discuss little bit on self and Atman. Sri Aurobindo initially quotes on self, as per Sri Aurobindo's writings, the self is being, not a being. Just imagine how the tilting type of words Sri Aurobindo is used in the initial phase. The self is being and not a being. By self is meant. Then what really the self is meant? The self is meant the conscious essential existence, one in all. Very importantly and very cleanly and very precisely, Sri Aurobindo has explained, by self is meant the conscious essential existence. Conscious essential existence, one in all, that is the self. Again, Sri Aurobindo quotes beautifully in another format, in another point of the time, in another way. The self in us is greater than the cosmic powers. So many cosmic powers in many ways, many where we find. But here in the course, self in us is greater than the cosmic powers. Again, here in the course, the self is merely a subjective aspect of the Brahman. Subjective aspect of the Brahman, just as the Ishvara is the objective aspect. So, two aspects are there. One is subjective aspect, and another is objective aspect. So, self is the subjective aspect of the Brahma, and Ishvara is the objective aspect of Brahma. Then again, Sri Aurobindo beautiful quotes in his own way. In his own way, one must realize the self first. That is the main, very big thing Sri Aurobindo quotes. Without it, nothing can be understood and nothing can be known. One must realize self first, only afterwards one can realize the supermind. So before realizing the supermind, the realization of the self is of utmost necessary, we must know. And people unknowingly, overtly, they keep moving, they don't know what is the importance of the self really. Again, only once we are possessed of the self, once we are possessed of the self, we are in the possession of all things. So he covers everything. He carries everything. He is everything. He is everywhere, and he is all. So once we are possessed of the self, we are in possession of all things. One must lose one's little lower self to find one's greater self. So little self, that is ego and all, almost confused with her ego. Ego must be clean, must be rejected, must be thrown out. One must be in a position to entirely get rid of the ego, so that be possessed by the greater self. So here in the course. Again, we are going to quote Sri Aurobindo. The self is the divine itself. Very clearly, very precisely, very simple, in a simplified manner, Sri Aurobindo quotes, the self is the divine itself in an essential aspect. It is not the person, but it is the really the essential aspect. It is divine. So there is no meaning of the phrase, not even a portion, only an aspect. So confusing for parts. The phrases are we are using here. Two phrases normally we find, not even a portion, only an aspect. So these are the things, they have got absolutely no meaning. An aspect is not something inferior to the portion. That's what Sri Aurobindo tries to put. Everything must be considered in a very bright and a very luminous way, very clarity, with all the clarities. Again, taking these terms, the essential and all the terms we can keep using. Still, what is that really essential means? Here in the tries to actually explain, clarify. There is a difference between the essence of a thing, what is always the same, and the formations and the developments with which vary. So in the course, there is a difference between the essence of a thing which is always the same, and its formations and the developments which vary, but actually essence is always the same. Srinivasan then provides one example, just for instance, essence of the gold, and there are essence is really essence of gold, but actually that forms come, which the many forms which the gold can make ring, you can make your ornaments, your garland, your just bangles, everything whatever you feel, these are the different forms it takes. Then here in the Aiken quotes and tries to explain, essence can never be defined. You can, nobody can define really the essence. It simply is. Everything acts in the self. Everything acts in the self. The whole play of nature takes play in the self. Initial point, here in the quotes, everything. Then the whole play of the nature takes place in the self, in the divine. The self, why? Because why? The self contains the universe. Not only the world, the self contains the world. Again, we will after the self, we will know it is everything. Without it has got no portion and all. Just imagine portion and aspect. These are the still something inferior superiority, that is nothing like this. And moreover, this essential, it has been explained gloriously by Sri Aurobindo, and the essentials during the course it can be defined, and moreover, the self contains the universe, entire everything is contained in the self. Again, Sri Aurobindo will try to explain, read Sri Aurobindo in a very somehow in a eager spirit, to know the cosmic spirit of the self. Still in the course, the cosmic spirit or self contains everything in the cosmos. Very interestingly, Sri Aurobindo, in the single half sentence, Sri Aurobindo tries to explain all. The cosmic spirit or self contains everything in the cosmos. It affords the cosmic mind, universal life, universal matter, as well as the overmind. Everything is contained by the self, or the cosmic spirit. The self is more than all these things. Whatever we find, whatever we see, whatever we have heard of, yourself is more than all these things, which are the formalities in the nature. It is big, many more. It is very big. So again, the cosmic spirit uses truth and falsehood, dualities, contrarieties. The cosmic spirit uses truth and falsehood, knowledge and ignorance, and all other dualities as elements in the manifestation, and works out what has to be worked out till all is ready for the higher meaning. So here, then the quotes uses, of course, the dualities, contrarieties, truth and falsehood, knowledge and ignorance, and all other dualities for the manifestation, and what has to be works out, what has to be worked out till it is ready for the higher working. Against during the course, the cosmic spirit contains the supermind even. Just imagine how the great it is. The cosmic the spirit contains the supermind, but it keeps above and works for the present between at present for the present between the overmind and the physical, because the supermind is above the overmind at present, in the scenario, in the presence of this, amid the ignorance. So it is it is working in between physical mind and the overmind, and it is only when ignorance is removed, because in the ignorance, while coming from the top, from supermind, Sachidananda supermind and all, ignorance starts from the overmind, and it is ventures as we venture down more and more to the downward, then this ignorance layer and the level is actually increasing. So when it is only when the ignorance is removed, the supramental becomes directly a dynamic part of the working of the cosmic nature. So as long as the ignorance is there, it is very difficult for the supermind to work. So the supermind will start working only if the ignorance, the veil of the ignorance is removed. Till then, there is only reflections on it. And moreover, one thing is very sure, that's here in the course, only the supramental ray can penetrate into the core of the matter, nothing else, even not even the overmind. The self is essentially universal. Again, the self is essentially universal. The individualized self is only the universal experienced from the individual center. And then, of course, during the course, Atman, possibly it is the central being, not at revealing its universal aspect of the Atman. So, if you are realized that you realized is not felt to be one in all, the feeling one in all, then it is not the Atma. The wideness, feeling of one in all, that is the essence of Atma. So then self is felt in either universal, one in all, or universalized individual, the same essence as others, extended everywhere from each being centered here. So everything, same things here in the course again. Center, the self is felt as either universal, number one is one in all, number two, or universalized individual in the same in essence of others, extended everywhere from one each being and centered here. So of course the center is the way of speaking, because no physical center actually is felt. So it is actually imaginary. It is a point that is the point of it is only it is, has to be felt. Only all the action takes place around the individual. That's what the point of interaction. All is in the self. When identified with the universal self, all is in you. So then again we have known the soul, the psychic being. Atman is one in all, not born, don't evolve or change. Soul is something that comes from the divine into the evolution to take experience and the progress and develop. So psychic being evolves and assumes different personalities from life to life. That's what we are well aware of. Again, the self or Atman is inactive. Nature or Prakriti or Shakti. Nature or Prakriti or Shakti acts, but self is or Atma is inactive. When the self is realized at last in the infinite existence, wideness, silence, freedom, peace, that is felt, that is the criteria of the self. And it is called Atman or self. When the action takes place, immediately, accordance with the realization, either felt as forces of nature working out in the wideness, or the divine Shakti working out in the cosmic divine, or various powers of his working. It is not felt that the self is acting, because self really does not act, inactive, and the nature or Prakriti is coming and working. The types of working is forces of nature, in that wideness, the divine Shakti working, or the cosmic divine, or the various power of him, actually they are working. These are the things to be discussed. These are the actually conception of the soul. Thank you.